Good evening. Computers are the essence of management information systems, and we need to understand their fundamentals before we can go into advanced application of computers to solve business problems. And this is also true for analytic tools such as Excel. So tonight, we will level set everyone to ensure that you have the fundamentals. You know the fundamentals of your computer and also the basic operations of Excel. So we're going to look at a number of things you can do to keep your personal computer either at work or at home running smoothly. And of course, both of those computers can be used for job purposes. So the first thing we're going to look at is creating strong passwords. There's 4 steps you can use to create a strong password. First, you want to create a strong password that you can remember. You have to keep your passwords a secret. You want to manage your passwords because you'll have passwords for a number of different accounts you log into, both online and with local software. And you want to monitor your accounts to make sure people haven't compromised a password and are hacking into your accounts. So you want to keep your password a secret. Keeping your passwords safe means keeping them a secret. Don't give them to friends. Don't write them down on a Post-it and put it on your computer, or don't keep them in an unprotected file on your computer. And be wary when giving them to a website where you first created the password. You want to make sure when you go to a website that it's actually the website and not a facsimile that someone has set up in a phishing scam, and we'll get into those shortly, to lure you into divulging your password to them. You also want to monitor your accounts, monitor all your monthly financial statements, and call the appropriate company or bank immediately if you have an issue. You want to get an annual credit report so you can find out if somebody's using your identity without your knowledge, and you can take appropriate actions. So the second thing we want to do to keep the computer running smoothly is perform good file management. And the best way to manage files is to organize them into folders and then store them in specific locations. So some of the tips for managing your files is use My Documents. They have this on both the Mac and Windows, so use that folder as a centralized place to store your files, so you have a centralized place you can back them up from. Limit your file name length. Sometimes archival software will choke on a path that has a lot of long names and then a file with a long name added to it. You want to archive or back up your completed work. Use thumb drives or the cloud to do these type of operations. And don't save unnecessary files. And you can quickly go to files you might have recently worked on by using My Recent Documents. Another thing we can do to keep our computer running smoothly is to implement effective backup and recovery strategies. You can unintentionally lose information on a computer in many ways, so it's important that you regularly make backup copies of your files and keep them in a separate place. You can get some, if not all, of your information back that way. You might lose something that you have done since the last backup, but you'll at least get the bulk of what you've been working on. So the way you can back up your computer files, A simple backup in Windows requires no special skills or software. You can just use a thumb drive, as I mentioned, or a cloud drive, and copy a file or folder into that particular disk. So you choose the disk or drive where you want to store the duplicate copy, and you can copy it by a drag operation or by a copy paste. You also, of course, want to run this backup on a regular basis. So how often should you back up your data? Well, if you use your computer occasionally, a weekly backup might be enough. If you use your computer every day, a daily backup is a good idea. Something else you can do to keep your computer running smoothly is to use zip files. Compressing files, folders, and programs decreases their size and reduces the amount of space. Folders that are compressed using the compressed folders feature use much less disk space. You want to write professional emails. So 6 common email mistakes are failing to follow email etiquette, attempting to remain anonymous, sending emails to the wrong person, using one email for everything. An email should be about one topic. Don't string 10 topics in one email. People are going to get tired of it, and they want to deal with one thing at a time. Don't click the send button too fast. You'll end up doing things like forgetting attachments, or it's going to go to the wrong person. You also want to stop spam. That's something that'll keep your several functions in your computer jammed up. Spam in your text, spam in your email. Spam is junk email. It's also a SPIM is the name for unwanted instant messages. So sleazy advertisers are going to be sending their emails, not realizing, or their text messages, not realizing it actually works to the negative of their products. So you want to delete junk email without opening them. They could be a hacking attack in disguise of a spam email. Don't reply to spam unless you're certain that it comes from a legitimate resource that you're interested in. Think twice before opening attachments. You can have executable code that can put viruses on your machine when you open attachments. And I did have an employee that was very skillful at writing these type of programs in Adobe Acrobat. Acrobat does let you write code, and when you open a PDF, it'll execute some of this code. So that's just one example. You'd have to be think twice before opening attachments. Don't buy anything or give to any charity promoted through spam. And do not forward chain emails. So another thing to keep your computer running smoothly is to prevent phishing attacks. Thieves use a method known as phishing to send email or instant message spam that imitates meticulously messages from reputable, well-known companies. The forged message capitalizes on your trust of that respected brand. So a phishing scam sent by email may start with con artists who send millions of email messages that appear to come from popular websites or sites that you trust. The email messages, pop-up windows, and Windows sites they link to appear official. Unsuspecting people respond to these requests, and they will send their credit card numbers. They'll go to a false front website that looks like the legitimate website, and they'll log in giving their password and user ID to the con artist and other account information and also personal data. So depending on how much information you give up, you can have your identity stolen. So to help prevent identity theft from phishing scams, first, report suspicious emails to your internet service provider or at work to your systems administrators or your IT staff. Again, be wary of clicking on links in email messages. A lot of scam artists will have something that looks very similar to a legitimate organization like IRS.com instead of IRS.gov. And, so you're not thinking, you click, you go to that site, you think you're dealing with the IRS, and they ask you to hand over all this personal information, and then you're in trouble. So always type addresses directly in your browser, or if you've benchmarked them, use the bookmarks. Check for the security certificate. That's always something that is an indicator that there's a potential problem if the certificate is out of date or has been revoked. And do not enter personal or financial information into pop-up windows. Another thing you can do, and of course, if you want to keep your computer running smoothly, another thing you can do is detecting spyware. So oftentimes when you get these spam attacks or you go to websites that are offering something for free, you end up with spyware on your machine. And so that's going to slow the performance of your machine because this stuff starts hogging your disk I/O capabilities, your CPU capabilities, and even your network capabilities as it spies on your work and sends this information to the person who put the spyware on your machine. So spyware is a general term for software that performs certain actions without obtaining your consent. Some of the indicators of spyware are you see pop-up advertisements even when you're not on the web. The page your web browser first opens to or your browser search settings have changed without your knowledge. You notice a new toolbar in your browser that you didn't want and you find it difficult to get rid of. And your computer takes longer than usual to complete certain tasks. And another indicator is you experience a sudden rise in computer crashes. So, how do you get rid of spyware? Well, Microsoft has a tool that you can download, Microsoft Windows Anti-Spyware. So you run the tool to scan your computer for spyware and other unwanted software. You review the files that were discovered by the tool for spyware and other unwanted software on your computer, and select the suspicious files for removal by following the tool's instruction. Something else you can do to keep your computer running efficiently is restrict instant messages. A computer infected by a virus may continue to spread the infection by sending copies to everyone on your instant messaging contact list. And this can be an embarrassment to you, especially if you have professional contacts on there. So some of the steps to help you avoid instant messaging viruses are, first, be careful downloading files in instant messaging. Keep your software up to date. because that will apply security patches so that hackers can't take advantage of holes in the security of the operating system you're using. Make sure you're using an updated version of the IM software. So you want to keep both your operating system software up to date and your instant messaging software up to date. So the vendors have plugged the security holes that were there in the past. Use antivirus software and keep it updated, and then use anti-spyware and keep it updated. Most of the time, the companies you work for will gladly let you put the anti-spyware on your home devices. In fact, if you're going to use it to do remote connections to work, they demand it to protect their network, their internal network, from any viruses you may have on your PC. So some other things you can do to keep your computer running smoothly. You can do things to increase your performance, PC performance, by freeing up disk space, speeding up access to data, and detecting and repairing disk errors. So by freeing disk space, you can improve the performance of your computer. And there's a disk cleanup utility you can use to remove temporary internet files, remove downloaded program files, empty the recycle bin, remove temporary files, remove optional components that you don't use, and also remove installed programs you no longer use. You can speed up access to data by using disk fragmentation software. Disk defragmentation software. Disk fragmentation slows the overall performance of your system. When files are fragmented, the computer has to search the hard disk when the file is opened to piece it back together. It's not all in one place. It's got to read a little block on the disk and then jump to another place on the disk. And that's going to have some motion of the disk arm. That's going to take time. It's not as fast as if the file was all in one place. And the response time can actually be significantly longer. So you can use a disk defragmenter, and I'll demonstrate a disk defragmenter on a Windows machine in just a moment. But the basic idea is you have a system tools set of applications and utilities, and one of them is going to be a disk defragmenter. So when you open it up, you can click Analyze to start the disk defragmenter, and in the disk defragmenter dialog box, you can click the drives that you want to defragment, click the Analyze button, and then once you've analyzed them and it tells you they might need to be defragmented, you can click the Defrag button. After the defragmentation is complete, the defragmenter software will display the results, and you can even get more detailed information by clicking a View Report that gives you a complete report on what was done. And then, of course, you close the defragmenter. So let's take a look at how we do this type of operation. So I'm going to, for the folks who are online, I'm recording this. I'm going to change and come over here. So now we've got, this is Windows, and I'm just going to defragment my C drive. And I'm not going to really do it because it would take a long time, but I'll show you how we would start. So I'll right-click it, go down to Properties. Now let me switch over to this, and it opens up a Properties dialog box. And I can go to Tools, and I can do error checking, and this will check for errors, but I can also defragment, optimize and defragment my drive. So I'll click optimize here. I select the drive. I can then click analyze, and it'll tell me, you know, what degree of fragmentation I have, and then I can optimize it if I want to. Now, let me change this one more time. There. So you can see I can pick the drive I'm interested in and analyze it. If it's fragmented, I can optimize it. In modern Windows and Mac OS software, this is usually set up so that it runs automatically on a weekly basis. So it's, you know, you can go ahead and take a look just to make sure it's running like it's supposed to. And for the most part, the drives I'm using are in very good shape, so I don't need to do any optimization. So I'll go ahead and close out of this. But before I do that, I'll come back to our PowerPoint slides, and I'll close out of here. And of course, we can detect and repair disk errors. I just showed that. We could follow that. The error checking utility scans the hard disk for bad sectors and scans for file system errors to see whether certain files or folders are misplaced. So to run the error checking utility, be sure to close all files before running that error checking utility. And then you can, again, pull this up by going to right-click a drive and then go to Properties and then Tools. And then you have the option of either the defragmentation or the repair disk errors. So you can click the repair disk errors, then click Check Now, and it'll check the disk. And you can also select Scan for and Attempt Recovery of Bad Sectors, and then click the Start, and it'll go through. And if bad sectors are found, you'll be prompted to fix them. So something else we can do to keep our computer running smoothly is using antivirus software. A virus is basically a malicious computer program, and the effects of viruses will differ. Some will modify, delete, or steal data, and others may give control of your PC over to the creators of the virus across the internet. A worm refers to a virus that can replicate and spread itself over the network. So you can use antivirus software. There's three main types of viruses that are in circulation: boot sector viruses, macro viruses, and file infecting viruses. Your antivirus software has virus definition files. Antivirus software usually works by checking a file for certain patterns of binary code. And these patterns are used to identify viruses that are stored in what is known as a virus definition file. And the two prominent antivirus software products are McAfee and Norton. You can also install a personal firewall. And a firewall is simply a program or hardware device that filters the information coming through the internet connection to a computer. So if an incoming packet of information is flagged by the filters, it's not allowed through. So again, we can, Windows ships with a firewall that you can use without cost, other than obviously you have to buy the PC with the Windows on it. So let's take a look at how that works. First, we would go to Control Panel, and we'd get, I'm using this look for the Control Panel. And down towards the bottom, you'll see Windows Firewall. So we can click on that, and it'll tell you what's going on in your private networks. My firewall state right now is off, so it's in the red, and I've got some options there. Tells me the active network I'm on, and then my guest or public networks, it's on. It blocks all connection attempts that are not on my list. Now, I can go to advanced settings, and here, let me, for the benefit of folks at home, let me change this. So in this dialog box, yeah, I think we've got it. Okay, in this dialog box, here's where we can create inbound and outbound rules. So software connects to an application on one PC, connects to an application on another PC across the internet through both their IP address that identifies the PC and then a port number that identifies an application. So an application will use a port number, and we can create inbound rules and restrict. We only allow certain things through, and one of the things we can say, okay, well, we only want to have a port number, and I would select that particular port and then go through. So I can set this up on my system, and then I've got the protection of filtering anything except the stuff I want to allow in. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the exercises for Tech Plugin T1. And then we'll, after that, go ahead with the Tech Plugin T2, which is Excel. And we'll go up to the website and I'll show you how to find them. So let's go here. So on our website, in the resources folder section, you'll see a folder called Tech Plugin Assignments. So click on that. Then you'll have each one of the Tech Plugin assignments. And when we get to Tech Plugin 6, 7, and 8, there's a different set of exercises for Mac and PC users. But on the first 5, they're the same. So click on T1 assignment. And then right here, of course, here's the PDF that has a lot of the material that we are covering. And then here's the assignment for Tech Plugin T1. Just click on that, and it'll tell you what you're supposed to do. In this case, you have 8 questions you have to answer. Go ahead and complete the answers to those questions and email me the answers. Okay, so let's go ahead, get started on that, and then when we finish with that, we'll go ahead and start up with an introduction to Excel.